welcome to episode number 46 of the YEGMS podcast. This is the 2019 really long run edition, and I meant to have it out about a month ago. But sometimes things just don't go as we plan, and I know it's been a while since I've done one of these, and I apologize to my regular listeners that I haven't been more diligent about getting new episodes out. But I had a lot to, planning with the run and training, and it was kind of nice to have some time off. So the 2019 really long run to End MS took place right around a month ago. This year was an 85 kilometer run. Took 13 hours. The whole day was about 13 and a half hours. I think I was running probably for 12 hours of that, because 13 and a half hours, that included breaks. So, and it went well. It went well. But I think the place to start this episode is a question I get asked often is why do you do these long runs? Especially, as somebody who's living with a chronic condition like MS. And also somebody who's not necessarily built as a runner. I'm sure people are curious and really how it all started. And regular listeners, I'm going to try and shorten this because I know I've talked about it before. But it all started back in 2007 when I got diagnosed. As the regular listeners know, I was stuck at home for about 7 months and really got bored at being in the house by myself. And at the time, I was considerably larger than I am now. I was probably in the neighborhood of 60 to 70 pounds heavier than I am today. And I started walking just as a way to alleviate the boredom. And the walks slowly turned into runs. And then in 2009, I ran my first half marathon, which snowballed into a conversation in a swimming pool in Mexico with my wife, where I was talking about running across Canada. And she came up with the idea that maybe I should try running the MS bike tour, which I ended up doing the day one route of the Leduc to Camrose MS bike tour in both 2015 and 2016, and those are the two first really long runs. 2017 and 2018, I took them off. The first two runs took a lot out of me and took a lot of time, and it was just I needed to find the spark to do it again. And mid last year, I thought, what the heck, I'll do a 2019 run, but I didn't want to run on the highway this time. The route from Leduc to Camrose on the highway it's no offense to anyone who lives out there, but a 12-hour day of just looking at farmers' fields, and running on the side of a highway just isn't the most inspiring run. And somebody had suggested to me last year, well, why don't you look at using the Edmonton River Valley? And which is crazy to me. I train in the River Valley all the time, and I never, for whatever reason, it just never occurred to me to maybe make it part of a route or the route. And with help from my friend Mark, we scouted out, and my friend Denis, we scouted out a trail from Fort Saskatchewan to Devon, using mostly the River Valley. There is about a 15 kilometer section, 20 kilometer section at the end on the way to Devon, where there just aren't any trails anymore, so we had to do some road running there. But other than that, it was all in the River Valley. And like I said, it went really, really well. A great group of people this year. Actually, an amazing group of people this year. And that's my favorite thing. I meet so many cool people doing these runs that in a way it's kind of selfish. It's what I get out of it, and hopefully what And back to the why, I mean, hopefully the other bonus of doing these runs, or my hope is that other people with MS can take some, whether it be inspiration, or they can shift their thinking into from what they can't do to what they can do. And with my experience with the disease, it's if you focus on what you can do and not on what you can't, you can still have a really cool life and do some really cool things. You know, when I watch a video of myself running, I mean, it's obvious that you know, the issues I have with between my feet and that, and with my balance, I kind of have an awkward stride when I run, but I can still do it. And I did it for 85 kilometers. So, and I don't think anyone can take that away from me, and I hope that if, you know, the people listening to this, whether it's you that has MS or it's a family member, that can be something where they go, you know what, I can do stuff. You know, I can still be active. I can still get out there and try. Now, for most of us, you won't ever be able to, you know, necessarily keep up with a highly trained person who's not living with a chronic disease. But in my mind, does that matter? You know, and the thing I like about distance running, most people don't ever ask me how long it took. They're blown away by the distance. So, and it doesn't become a person with ability versus a person with disability kind of thing. It's like, holy cow, you ran all day from you know, and I ran through 3 different municipalities over the 85 kilometers. So that's why I do it. And you know, I get a lot of great stuff out of it myself. And most of it is just meeting really cool people that are willing to spend time out of their life with me to try and support people in our community. And that's the why. So, which brings me to the 2019 run. You know, unfortunately this year, I didn't have as much time to promote it as I have in the past. I mean, I have a very, very active 8-year-old and a very, very active 6-year-old. And just an active family life, and I just didn't have the time to do the promotion, you know, to really drive the donations as much as I have in the past. But this is also about awareness too. So we still raised almost $9,000 this year, which is, you know, I'm thrilled with when I consider how much time I didn't have to put into the fundraising. But I actually enjoyed this run out of the 3 the most. We and not doing as many TV appearances and not doing as many radio appearances and that. I actually like better. I don't really like. Well, a different way to put it is I don't really ever want to be a public person. It's kind of, you know, put it this way, when I'm at a party, I prefer to be one of the people in the background. It's always been my way. I'm an introvert by nature, so that part of it's not necessarily my favorite part. And what I found this year is I just enjoyed it. The day I enjoyed it a whole lot more. It was more mellow. It was more low key. It was just more more. It worked better with my personality. And the other reason why I enjoyed it more this year is we changed the route, and we ran from, like I was mentioning, through the Edmonton River Valley, which, even though we're a prairie city, my Lord, are people in Edmonton, in the Edmonton area, were we ever lucky to have the River Valley? truly is spectacular. And you can really appreciate how spectacular it is when you either run or bike it from end to end. I mean, it really is incredible. All the park space, all the green space, the views of downtown. It is really phenomenal. And we're just so fortunate to have it. And running along that route versus running on the highway along farmers' fields and getting passed by cars and getting exhaust blown in your face, and rather than doing that, running for 80% of the run on public trails or in a river valley setting was just amazing. And we had some amazing people taking pictures as well, and they're on the ownmultiplesclerosis.com website. I would check them out just to check out the Edmonton River Valley. So if you're listening in Australia, or you're in the United States or Europe, or wherever you're listening to this, just have a look on the website and have a look at the pictures, because it really may change your point of view of what it might be like to live in a more northern Canadian city. Obviously we get winter, but I mean our summers can be pretty spectacular, and I think you'd be surprised at how lovely the river valley is. And I should, before I go any further, really mention some key people where honestly this run just could not have happened without their support, encouragement, and help. A really good friend of mine, Mark, really helped a lot with planning, with his experience running ultra marathons and doing the Death Race and Sinister 7 and some of the other events he's taken part in, and helping me find the trail. This would not have happened without his help. So Mark, thank you very much. The other really key person is my mom. We can call her the organizer to the stars. She made sure she organized all the volunteers. She got the shirts printed. And she even managed to get me a really cool surprise that I wasn't even prepared for, that really, really blew me away, but I'll get to that in a second. And I also have to mention my dad. He rode his bike the full 85 kilometers, probably going 5 or 6 kilometers an hour for 12 hours. He's 67, but he did the whole day, and I think he was pretty bored. I would be too. And helping him out on the bikes was my friend Denis, who we went to grade 7 together in 1988, the 1988-89 school year at St. Edmunds Junior High here in Edmonton, and it was just before I moved to Kamloops, and we lost track of each other for 30 years, and we connected on LinkedIn of all places probably a year ago, and maybe just over a year ago, and he's an avid cyclist, so he was on his bike all day, and so pretty spectacular. But let me take you through the day. If I kept thanking everyone, that's all this episode would be, is me thanking people you've never heard of. So we got to Fort Saskatchewan probably at 10 to 5 in the morning. The Dow baseball fields. And if you're listening to this, and if you're at a desktop computer, go to ownmultiplesclerosis.com, and you can kind of follow through with the pictures. So we get to Fort Saskatchewan about 5:15 a.m. I've slept maybe 4 or 5 hours. I get pretty anxious the nights before this, and just because I just want to get going. So we get out to the Dow baseball fields. My friend Brendan, if you're looking at the pictures, he's the gentleman in blue on the very first picture. He wanted to find a place to run with me where he'd be able to keep up. And as I tell everybody, if you're not like a super trained runner, don't run with me at the beginning, run at the end, because by the end I'm walking a lot and I'm going pretty slow. Well, he decided to take the first leg, and He lamented later that day when I talked to him that he was like, man, come on. Because I was going at a pretty good clip, but that's always what happens to me. I get so amped up that I probably ran a little faster than I should have for the first 7 kilometers, but I just had to burn off some of the nervous energy. So we left Fort Saskatchewan with, it was myself, my dad, and 4 support runners. And it was a 7 kilometer trek from where we started to where we were going to cross the river. And we crossed the river several times during the day, but there was actually no bridge there, but I'm going to get to that in a minute. So we left there at about 5:15. My friend Mark, he made me say a few words. Again, I'm not really a public person. I kind of like to keep to myself. So and it might seem weird, but doing a podcast is easy. It's just me in my office talking into a microphone with no one around. So to me, it's just like being by myself, right? But when you have to get in front of a group, whether it's, maybe 10 people, 12 people that were there that morning, or even, well, it doesn't matter the amount. But anyway, so I had said a few words, and then we got going. And like I said, I was hustling pretty good to start. If you look a couple pictures down, there's one of me kind of leading, and you'll see Brendan kind of in the background by my dad. So Brendan, sorry about next year, try, go towards the end. But the coolest parts, we run the 7 kilometers coming out of Fort Saskatchewan, then we get to where the Fort Saskatchewan trails end, and right across the river from where they end, the city of Edmonton trails start. But the problem was there was no bridge there. So the question was, how are we going to get across the river? And my initial suggestion to my team was, well, I'll just bring my canoe and we'll just canoe across. But we weren't sure how fast the river was going, and really, I'm not like an experienced paddler. I just paddle around the lake, like it's not. So we weren't sure how quick the river was going to be moving. So anyway, long story short, my mom made a few calls, and she said, don't worry, Sean, Strathcona Fire and Rescue is going to come with one of their boats and take you across. So I just figured it was going to be a big dinghy with an outboard. So I come around the corner, finishing up this first 7 kilometer section, and there's a fan boat, like an honest to goodness fan boat. And I went from being a 42-year-old man to being 12 years old, like in a blink of an eye. I was so excited to get on that thing. Because seriously, I don't live on the bayou. I live in northern Alberta. How many times do you ever see a fan boat, let alone get to ride in one? So the fan boat, so we dropped off the 4 support runners, and we hopped in this fan boat, and the fan boat took myself, my dad, and his bike across the North Saskatchewan River. This is about 6 in the morning. And like I said, if you go to ownmultiplesclerosis.com, you can see the pictures of us crossing the river. So then we get to the other side. And once again, thank you to Strathcona Fire and Rescue for coming out. The boat ride was probably all of like 3 or 4 minutes long, if that. But it was so cool. Like, it was just one of those moments in life that I'll never forget. Me, my dad, his mountain bike, getting across the North Saskatchewan on a fan boat. It's just one of those moments I'll cherish on and I'll take with me as long as I live. So we get to the other side, and so we dropped off 4 support runners, and then we picked up my neurologist, Dr. Brad, who's run with me in every single one of these really long runs, and he did about a half marathon, give or take. And then we also met Denis. He showed up with his bike at that point. So from there, it was Denis, my dad, Dr. Brad, and myself heading towards Rundle Park. I think we got to Rundle Park around 8 a.m. That would make sense if it was around, 20K from where we crossed. I probably should have taken a log of, all these different when we got to different parts, but I was asked to give a schedule of when I thought I might be at certain places, and we were pretty much spot on all day. I don't know how I managed that, but we got to Horlick Park, and then this is always where the run gets cool for me, because I show up and I never know who I'm going to meet. Because a lot of the support runners, and this has been consistent through all three times that I've done this, is people reach out and they want to be part of it, or they talk to people that hear of it and then they decide they want to run, but I don't necessarily meet them before. So I literally meet these people as I'm running. And this is when things got really super cool. So I get to Horlick Park, and a few more family members pop in, my Uncle Andre, my Uncle Doug. But then I meet another 1, 2, 3. I'm counting people in the picture right now. So we picked up another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 runners at that point. And again, I met all of them for the first time. Well, no, sorry, one of them I'd met at Mark's house previously, but the other 4, the first time I'd ever met them was that morning. One of the gentlemen was actually somebody who listened to a radio interview that I had done, and he had called in and asked for contact info. So Tony, thanks for coming out, bud. It was great to have you along. And I think he went from Rundle to Terwilliger, so that's, 30 kilometers, something like that. So anyway, the support running crew was up to 2, 4, 6, so there was 7 of us leaving Rundle. Oh, sorry, Tony joined us a little bit later. So there was 6 of us leaving Rundle, and then we picked up Tony along the way. And if you look at the pictures on endmultiplesclerosis.com, there's a really cool moment where there's a really cool place where there's a really, really, really good view of downtown Edmonton. And I wanted to stop and get a group shot, so we stopped. And just prior to that, Brenda, who I just met that morning, and we started chatting, and there's actually a picture of her and I chatting just below the group shot of the skyline. And as it turns out, Brenda trains ultramarathoners. And the group of people that I ran with that day, most of them were people who run ultramarathons and have done some of the big races. Where this run that I'm doing, we think 85K, that a lot of people think that sounds really long. Some of the stuff these guys do, with the elevation they do, it's insane compared to a relatively flat 85-kilometer run. Anyway, Brenda starts telling me about some of about her life and some of the challenges that she's had, and we're looking over downtown, and she just says to me, it's times like these, it's really important just to take a moment and appreciate where you are. And she was talking about mindfulness, and it was one of my favorite moments of the day. And it really set the tone for me for the rest of the day. Thank you, Brenda, for that. Just to take in and enjoy what I was doing, and not worry about time, and not worry about the organization, and not worry about the logistics, and all. Just appreciate what I was doing, where I am, who I'm with, the fabulous opportunity that doing the run afforded me to meet these absolutely fantastic people. And, from Brenda to Darren taking the pictures to, Dr. Brad running along, it was just it was a special moment that really set it up for me for the rest of the day. So after we left that photo opportunity, we continued on towards Kinsman, and you'll see the new bridge in Edmonton as we passed it on our way into Kinsman there. We had a quick stop at Kinsman. We picked up Caitlin there. No, she was at the riverboat. Anyway, we picked up a few more, and we continued on towards Horlick Park. And at Horlick Park, we took another group shot, and you can see how, if you're looking at the pictures, you can see how The group grew during the day. But but before I get to the group shot at Horlick Park that you'll see me lying on the ground, and that's my wife holding my hands. And what had happened there? So we're about a marathon in, give or take. It might be like 35, it might be 40, but it'd be roughly a marathon in. And my kids were at Horlick Park, and my son ran up to give me a hug, and I bent down to go on one knee to give him a hug, and one of my hamstrings just started to spasm. So I just kind of rolled over on my back. I was like, ah. And it was quite funny because and then my wife helped me up. We got over to where everybody was standing, and then we lined, and she was working out, and I was like, kind of like, ah, as she was like working out this kink, but got her laughing pretty good. It got me laughing pretty good. And I think a few people around were chuckling pretty good, but there was also probably some people wondering, is this guy going to make it? But she worked it out. We were good. Had lunch at Horlick Park. And as you can see from the pictures, we picked up a bunch more people, including Kieran, who has run in every single really long run. And Kieran's funny. He always says he'll do 5 or 10, and then he doesn't leave. And he sets a personal best for distance every single time we've done this run. He's done a personal best for distance. And this year, he almost hit a marathon. He said he'd do 10, and then he almost hit a marathon. But see, Kieran's smart. Kieran always joins when I've run at least a marathon. So the pace starts to slow down. Usually by about 40, it starts to slow down. By 50, and by 60, it really slows down. It's a lot of walk, run. But the coolest part is coming out of Horlick Park. My kids wanted to cycle beside me, and you can see pictures of them on their bikes. And having them old enough to actually take part a little bit was just phenomenal for me. It was just a good feeling. There's some pictures of them on their bikes. Jonah's got his bike helmet on. He's running beside me. There's a really good shot of it's me, Jonah, Belle, and my dad from behind. And there's a really good picture of my wife and my dad. So anyway, just phenomenal. So we leave Horlick Park. And we're heading towards the Fort Edmonton Park and the John Jensen Nature Center, and we just get hammered with rain. And there's a picture, you can tell we're running quickly, and what that picture is, what it's of, is the shadow in the foreground. That's actually an overpass. So I don't know about everybody else, I'm running to get underneath that overpass because I'm getting just drenched. Then we come into the Fort Edmonton, and we get to the Fort Edmonton footbridge. The rain stops. There's some really good shots of us going across the Terwillegar footbridge. Sorry, I just kind of blanked out there for a second. I'm looking at these pictures and I'm smiling. So, and I can't really say enough about the group of people. I mean, their energy, their positivity, their encouragement. And the neat thing was, a few of the experienced ultra people like Brenda, and they're giving me tips, right? Because I don't really actually know what I'm doing. I mean, I'll just be the first one to admit it. My idea to train for this stuff is I just run a lot. And I've gotten better with nutrition over nutrition day out, like as you're running. I've gotten better with nutrition over the time, but I still have lots to learn, and having people with that kind of experience is fantastic. And another guy that was running that day that we picked up, and I think we picked him up. I'm looking at the pictures, and when did I pick Josh up here? Is he in that one? Yeah. I think Josh started at Horlick. Is he in that picture? Yep. So Josh started at Horlick, and Josh is actually doing a similar event in Hinton this year, and he's going to do a 90K run to raise money for the MS Society. And Josh and I communicated via text a few times before, but I never met him till that day. So it was great running with him, and I'm hoping to help support him in his run when he does it just before the Hinton Bike Tour in September. If you want more information about Josh's run, just reach out to me and I can get you in touch with him. And then when did we pick up Patricia? And a lot of people here in Edmonton know Patricia Jahufka. She is the MS Society ambassador. She was diagnosed with MS quite a while ago. And she's just a high energy, awesome person. Yeah, Twilliger is where we picked up Patricia. And I think so there was 2 MS warriors on the backside of the last half of the run. And I'm pretty sure she ran close to 30. So way to go, Patricia. It was great to have you out. And hopefully she'll keep doing these with me, but we'll see. So anyway, we leave Terwilliger. We get to the Henday, and then that's when we have to leave the river rally for a while. And so if you're looking at the pictures, that's why we're on the road. And that's I think it's about a 15K on the road. I'd have to check, but it's something like that. Anyway, so you'll also see if you scroll down, I'm almost 70 kilometers in, and then my uncle runs up beside me. He's been in the support vehicle with my mom all day. And he said, Sean, 2 of the local TV stations want to interview you. When would be a good time? And I'm like, well, I can't really stop, because if I stop now, it's it for me. I can't, I've only got 15 kilometers to go or wherever we were at. And so about 70K in, we could see the TV crew setting up way in the distance on the side of the road. There was a little pullout. So I gave an interview, and I barely remember it. I was very, very tired at that point. So I hope it went all right. I actually haven't watched it, but. And about half an hour after we had the interview, we got to the Devon Garden, which was 7 kilometers left to go. And this is a really special part of the day for me, because my daughter, Belle, ran the final 7 kilometers with me. She's 8 years old. Now, she was lucky because, I was walking a lot. It was kind of a walk, run, run section of the day. But she stuck it out for the remaining 7K, and that was just it just filled my heart with joy. That's the only way I can really say it. And that trail, and people who are local here in Edmonton, the Devon Trail from the gardens into Devon is really, really nice. And it's unfortunate because, I passed it for years on Highway 60, and it just kind of looks like a trail in the ditch. Well, that's maybe 10% of the trail, not even, because it cuts back into the woods and stuff, and then it's a really, really nice trail all the way down to Prospectors Point, and it's about 7K. So it was the final 7K that Belle was with me. And then we come into Prospectors Point. There is actually a really not great resolution cell phone video that my wife took that's on the website as well, and that's just us coming into Prospectors Point. And I can't believe it, but I was able to run, actually run to the finish, and I'm really, really pleased with that I still had enough left with, 80 plus kilometers in to be able to run. And I'd asked my neurologist in the morning if I could have a beer that night. He said, yeah, that's fine, just one. But then he saw me run the last 150, 200 meters, and he says, you can have 2. So that little sprint at the end bought me a beer. So, life's about little victories, right? So anyway, that was kind of the day in the nutshell. We showed up at Prospectors Point at, I think it was just before 6 or just after 6. Anyway, it was about 13 hours later, and I made it the whole way. And I have to say, so people listening who have MS, I have to tell you, I felt fine. I really, really, really did feel fine. My MS didn't give me any problems that day. Not at all. Just, So, I guess at the end of the day, if you're listening to this and if you have MS, exercise, clean diet. I mean, it's nothing different than you've heard your entire life. Eat your Brussels sprouts, exercise, right? Eat clean, live clean, and you may not be able to run, like I was saying earlier, at the pace or at the rate of a regular person, but you can still do it, and you'll feel better as a result. I'm going to be doing the really long run again in 2020 and in 2021. And my plan right now is to do the exact same route in 2020, roughly at the same time, so sometime in June. And then in 2021, I want to run from roughly parallel to the parkway. So it's going to be about a 290 kilometer run. It'll take a few days. And that's in Jasper National Park. If anyone's interested in being part of either of those, reach out to me. I would love to hear from you. Anyways, we're winding down episode number 46. I am going to start doing more of these again. I kind of had my break, and I'm feeling good. Sounds like I have a guest lined up for the next one. I know I've said that in the past and it hasn't really happened, but it sounds like I have a guest lined up for the next one, which is great because I don't have to talk as much as somebody else talking. But as always, you can find me if you want to talk to me about anything, reach out to me for any reason at all, Sean at ownmultiplesclerosis.com. The website is ownmultiplesclerosis.com. You can find the YEG MS podcast pretty much anywhere podcasts are, well, not sold, but anywhere, wherever they're downloaded. Because it's on Stitcher Radio, iTunes, Spotify, Podcast One, YouTube, SoundCloud. I mean, depending on how you consume your podcast, you'll be able to find it. So please reach out. I can be found at MS Long Run on Twitter and MS Long Run on Instagram. I will confess I'm not a huge social media person, so don't expect a ton of updates from those, but I do update. I will post things periodically. And I hope everyone out there is having a great summer. And if you're thinking about getting active, do it. Just go slow. And as you're feeling better, crank it up. You can do it. There's no reason why you can't. So with that, I'll leave you. Have a good one, and we'll talk to you soon.